Avoid these 6 foods if you want to live past 90. What centenarians never eat. Have you ever looked at someone in their 90s, bright-eyed, walking upright, laughing with their grandkids, and thought, how do they do it? They didn't get there by accident. And it's not just about good genes, either. More and more, science and real-life examples are showing us that how we age depends a lot on the little choices we make every day, especially the ones on our plate. Now, I don't know about you, but I used to believe that aging meant giving up a lot of the foods I love. But it turns out, it's not about eating less, it's about eating smarter. And when you look at communities around the world where people regularly live into their 90s and beyond, like in Okinawa, Japan, or Sardinia, Italy, there's something they all have in common. They stay away from certain foods that, over time, quietly chip away at your health. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because you deserve to feel your best, no matter your age. In this video, we're going to look at the 6 foods that many centenarians avoid, and how making a few simple swaps can help you stay sharper, stronger, and more energized for years to come. Let's start with something many of us grew up on: white bread and other refined grains. They're soft, they're easy to chew, and they show up in everything from sandwiches to toast. But here's the thing, those white fluffy slices are doing you more harm than good. When grains are refined, they're stripped of their fiber and nutrients. What's left is basically sugar in disguise. It causes your blood sugar to spike, which stresses your insulin response and increases inflammation throughout your body. And over time, that inflammation can lead to everything from heart disease to memory loss. Now, centenarians? They tend to stick with whole natural grains, like oats, brown rice, or sourdough bread made the traditional way. They're not dieting, they're just eating foods that their bodies recognize and know how to handle. And you don't have to give up your favorite meals to make a change. Instead of white toast in the morning, try whole grain. If pasta's on the menu, reach for whole wheat or even lentil-based pasta. These little swaps add up, especially when you think in decades, not just days. And that brings us to another sneaky culprit: processed meats. I know, that crispy bacon or salty ham might be a weekend favorite. But when we look at the science, it's hard to ignore what it's telling us. Studies from places like Harvard and the World Health Organization show a clear link between processed meats and increased risk of colon cancer, heart problems, and even earlier death. Processed meats are full of preservatives like nitrates and nitrites. These chemicals may help with shelf life and flavor, but they also increase inflammation and oxidative stress in the body. And that, over time, takes a toll. Now let's be clear, I'm not saying you can never enjoy a slice of bacon again. Life is for living, after all. But it's about awareness and balance. Centenarians? They tend to lean more toward plant-based proteins. Lentils, beans, nuts, the occasional fish. These foods not only support your body, they also support a long, active life. There's an older woman I met once. She's 94, lives in a small village, and still rides her bicycle to the market. When asked what she eats, she smiled and said, "Mostly what grows near me. Beans, greens, and a little fish when we can catch it." There's wisdom in that simplicity. And speaking of simplicity, let's take a look at another food that's all too common in modern diets: sugary drinks. Now, I know it can be tempting to crack open a soda, especially on a hot day. But here's the reality: those sugary drinks age your cells faster than just about anything else. Even fruit juices labeled as natural can be loaded with sugar. These drinks spike your blood sugar, strain your liver, and feed belly fat, and over time, they're linked to everything from diabetes to cognitive decline. Centenarians don't fill their cups with soda or sweetened teas. They tend to drink water, herbal teas, even the occasional glass of red wine, but always in moderation and with meals. If you're someone who enjoys sweet drinks, here's a gentle shift. Try flavoring water with slices of lemon, cucumber, or a few fresh mint leaves. It's refreshing, hydrating, and helps your body function at its best. Now I get it, it's not always easy to break lifelong habits. But remember, aging well isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Choosing to support your body so it can support you, in the things you love, the people you cherish, and the life you're still creating. You deserve to wake up feeling clear-headed. You deserve to walk with strength. You deserve to enjoy your days without the weight of chronic health issues. And so much of that starts with what's on your plate. The foods we just talked about, white bread, processed meats, sugary drinks, they might not seem dangerous on their own. But over time, they wear down your body quietly, making it harder to stay strong, sharp, and independent. Now that we've talked about some of the most common foods that can chip away at our health, especially after 60, let's keep going, because some of the foods we're talking about today might be sitting in your pantry or fridge right now. And don't worry, this isn't about guilt. It's about knowledge. When we know better, we can choose better. And sometimes, just removing one or two foods from your regular diet can ease your digestion, boost your mood, and even help you sleep better at night. Let's talk about something many of us grew up believing was part of a healthy diet: margarine and hydrogenated oils. Remember when butter was considered the bad guy, and margarine was the healthy alternative? Well, science has come a long way since then, and what it's telling us now is pretty clear. Trans fats, which are often found in margarine and many processed snacks, are one of the worst things we can put into our bodies. These types of fats increase your bad cholesterol, lower the good kind, and create inflammation in the body. And it's that inflammation, especially long-term, that leads to chronic issues like heart disease, stroke, and even memory loss. If you look at the diets of people who live past 90, you won't find a tub of margarine in their fridge. What you will find are natural fats, olive oil, a little butter from time to time, maybe some nuts or avocado. Fats that come from the earth. Fats that your body knows how to break down and use. A woman I met in her 80s once told me, "We ate real food growing up. Nothing from a box. And we cooked with olive oil and garlic, not chemicals. And it shows." She still tends to her garden every day, climbs stairs without effort, and has a memory sharp as a tack. So next time you're shopping, take a look at the labels. If you see partially hydrogenated oil or vegetable shortening, that's a sign to leave it on the shelf. Your heart will thank you. And that brings us to something that might surprise you: excessive amounts of red meat. Now don't get me wrong, a good piece of steak now and then isn't going to take years off your life. But when red meat becomes a regular part of your diet, especially highly marbled, fatty cuts, it can start to work against your longevity goals. People who live the longest often eat meat sparingly. It's not the centerpiece of their meals, it's more like the accent. In Okinawa, where people have some of the highest life expectancies in the world, many of the oldest residents go days without eating meat. Their diets focus on sweet potatoes, vegetables, tofu, and small portions of fish. The issue with too much red meat isn't just the saturated fat. It's also the compounds produced when meat is cooked at high temperatures, like grilling or frying. These compounds can trigger inflammation and oxidative stress, two big contributors to aging. If you love the flavor of red meat, consider using it more like a seasoning than the main dish. Add a small amount to a vegetable stir-fry. Try meatless meals a couple times a week. Or experiment with plant-based alternatives that taste great and are easier on your body. You're not depriving yourself, you're nourishing yourself. You're making choices that help your joints move better, your heart beat stronger, and your mind stay clear. And while we're on the subject of choices, let's take a look at another one that often sneaks in: packaged and ultra-processed foods. Those colorful boxes with long shelf lives, those quick microwave dinners, those grab-and-go snacks filled with preservatives and unpronounceable ingredients. Those are the foods that centenarians have learned to avoid. You won't find many 95-year-olds who swear by frozen pizza or potato chips. Instead, they eat what's local, fresh, and seasonal. And the difference it makes is profound. When you eat whole foods, foods with ingredients you can actually pronounce, you're feeding your body the way nature intended. That doesn't mean you can never enjoy convenience. It just means being mindful. If a label has more than 5 ingredients and you can't picture what half of them are, that's a red flag. There was a man in Costa Rica, 104 years old, who said he'd never eaten anything that came in a box. "Food doesn't need to be fancy," he said, smiling. "Just fresh." And that simplicity, that connection to real food, is what keeps their bodies running like well-oiled machines. They're not chasing the next diet trend or trying to count every calorie. They just eat close to the earth, and they do it with intention. Now, none of this means you have to throw everything out or stop enjoying your favorite comfort foods. Life should be enjoyable. Food should be delicious. But the key is to shift your habits toward what supports your health, not chips away at it slowly, day after day. These small changes, choosing whole grain over white, olive oil over margarine, beans instead of beef every now and then, might not seem like a big deal at first. But over months and years, they add up to something powerful. They add up to fewer aches, more energy, better balance, and a sharper mind. And perhaps most importantly, they add up to freedom. The freedom to keep walking, to keep laughing, to keep doing the things you love for as long as possible. Because living past 90 isn't just about adding years, it's about making those years worth living. Now that we've explored how certain everyday foods, like margarine, red meat, and processed snacks, can quietly work against our health, let's take a look at one last type of food that has quietly made its way into many of our kitchens, and it might be doing more harm than you realize. It's those sugary desserts we reach for in the evening. The cookies, cakes, pastries, and candies that feel like a small reward at the end of a long day. And don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with treating yourself now and then. Life should include a bit of sweetness. But when those sweet treats become a daily habit, or even a multiple times a day habit, that's when the trouble starts. What a lot of people don't realize is that sugar, especially in large amounts, acts almost like a slow-acting poison in the body. It causes chronic inflammation, damages your arteries, stresses your pancreas, and even affects your memory. Studies have found that people who consume high levels of sugar are at greater risk for Alzheimer's, heart disease, and certain types of cancer. And here's the kicker: sugar is addictive. The more you eat, the more your body craves it. Centenarians? They don't eat sugary desserts every night. In fact, many of them rarely eat processed sugar at all. Their sweet treats come from nature: fresh fruit, a bit of honey, or even a baked apple with cinnamon. Not only are these gentler on the body, but they're also packed with fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants. I remember reading about a 103-year-old woman from Ikaria, Greece, who said her favorite dessert was figs from the tree, warmed by the sun. Can you imagine how peaceful that sounds? No wrappers, no ingredients list, just the pure, natural sweetness of real food. If you have a sweet tooth, you don't have to go cold turkey. Just start by replacing that evening cookie with a bowl of fresh berries or some dark chocolate with almonds. Over time, your taste buds adjust, and the overly sweet stuff starts to feel a bit too much. That's your body telling you it's healing. And that really is what all of this comes down to: healing. Not punishing, not depriving, but listening to your body and giving it what it truly needs to thrive. You see, when we look at the world's longest living people, their diets aren't trendy or complicated. They're built around real food, prepared with care, eaten in good company. These people aren't obsessing over calories or macros. They're simply choosing foods that support their well-being, and they're consistent about it. And the best part? It's never too late to start. Whether you're 60, 70, 80, or beyond, your body still responds to change. Your heart still benefits when you reduce inflammation. Your brain still thrives when you cut back on sugar. Your joints still thank you when you avoid processed foods. And your energy improves, often faster than you'd expect, when you start fueling yourself with the right things. You don't have to overhaul your entire pantry overnight. In fact, please don't. Start small. Choose one food you're ready to let go of, or even reduce. Maybe it's soda. Maybe it's white bread. Maybe it's those boxed snack cakes that somehow always end up in the cart. Then, replace it with something that serves you better. Whole grain bread. A handful of almonds. Sliced cucumber with hummus. A cup of herbal tea in the afternoon instead of reaching for candy. These swaps may seem small, but they matter. Over weeks and months, they add up to fewer doctor visits, steadier moods, clearer thinking, and more strength in your steps. And remember, you're not doing this because you're scared of getting old. You're doing it because you want to live well as you age. There's a difference. You want to keep laughing at silly jokes. You want to keep walking to the park without worrying about your knees giving out. You want to keep your independence, to cook your own meals, play with your grandkids, or travel if the mood strikes. And the way you eat plays a major role in whether those things stay possible. So let's do a quick, gentle recap of what we've covered. Without getting too technical, we've talked about the importance of cutting back on refined grains like white bread, processed meats like bacon and ham, sugary drinks like soda and fruit punch, harmful fats like margarine and hydrogenated oils, too much red meat, ultra-processed convenience foods, and sugary desserts. Instead, lean into what centenarians eat every day: whole grains, beans, vegetables, fruits, healthy fats, and simple homemade meals. Not every meal has to be perfect. But when most of your meals nourish you, your whole life starts to feel better. And if there's one thing I hope you take away from this conversation, it's this: you still have the power to shape your health. You're not too old. It's not too late. Your body is always listening, always responding, always ready to heal, even now. So go easy on yourself. Be proud of every positive step. And when you look in the mirror tomorrow morning, remind yourself that your choices today are setting you up for more mornings like that. More laughter, more hugs, more memories, more years that feel truly lived. And I'd love to hear from you. Is there a food you've given up recently that made a difference in how you feel? Or maybe there's one you're ready to cut back on starting today. Share it with us in the comments below, because your story just might inspire someone else. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and consider subscribing. We're building a warm, encouraging community here of people who are choosing to age with strength, grace, and joy. And we'd be honored to have you with us. Here's to fewer boxes in the pantry, more colors on the plate, and a longer, healthier, more delicious life, no matter your age. You've got this.